I'm talking today to Styli Charalambous, who is the Managing Director of the Daily Maverick. Styli, tell me, what is the Daily Maverick?
Daily Maverick is an online news publication that was born out of Maverick magazine, which was a fresh take on business reporting as a monthly publication in the print industry in South Africa. And when the magazine stopped publishing, passionate followers of the magazine were crying for us to carry on the legacy of the Maverick style of journalism. And we recognized that with the world moving into the digital space that we had to do that as well. And the Daily Maverick was born as an online daily news publication roughly about 20 months ago in October 2009.
So what is the magic editorial formula for this South African publication?
Well, we looked at the market in terms of what publishers were doing in terms of getting news content out there, and we interviewed a lot of people, asked them what they liked, what they didn't like, how did the advertising work for them, did they like any advertising that they'd seen, and what was their overall sort of general experience with news in South Africa in the online space. And it was very much a resounding unappealing exercise. It was pretty much a grudge purchase, in terms of their time, in how they read, and what was being offered to them in terms of the content. Publishers here could almost be described as distributors rather than publishers, in that they subscribe to Newswire copy from the various Newswire feeds, and then package it onto a website as much as possible, and so you would see the same story on one news website as you would on another, the word for word published straight from the newswires.
If you hadn't already seen it on television or heard it on radio.
Exactly. So we recognized that if we wanted to play in that space, it wouldn't be wise to do so, and we didn't want to play in that space.
You're quite opinionated, aren't you?
Yeah, we are opinionated, and we also like to inject a human flavour into our reporting. Every single story that we publish is compiled and authored by one of our editorial staff, and runs through the normal editorial process that you would in a print publication. Coupled with that, we recognize that people need a deeper analysis and understanding of what the topics are that are affecting our lives here in South Africa. So we'd put together a 1,000-word feature piece on a particular topic rather than a paragraph or two that would be reported by the newswires. So we needed to have something different. We wanted to cater for a market that needed that understanding and that analysis and would appreciate it. And we were unashamedly, for people with brains and money, and that's who we targeted. And we needed to give them something that would be a premium reading experience and would cover their news requirements in the online space.
So how many daily readers do you have?
Well, we've had a steady growth of readers. We've had a marketing budget that consisted of 20 T-shirts with our logo printed on.
Lucky 20 people.
Lucky 20 people, and we've grown by word of mouth, and we've grown to 100,000 unique visitors a month. We've started off with the fan base of the magazine, and we were fortunate enough to have those that following to start with. But with the uptake of social media and just the good quality content that we've been producing consistently, we've seen our numbers grow to 100,000 unique visitors per month.
And is that just from within South Africa, or do you have a kind of diaspora readership as well?
We do. We have a lot of. We have 20%, roughly 20% each month of readers that access us from abroad. We believe that there are expats or people that have an interest in South African focused news. But having said that, we do have the odd articles. Where we cover American politics or international affairs or technology, for example, that will pique interest wherever it may be, and picked up by whatever sort of aggregators around the world as interesting pieces. But the majority of people that access us from abroad each month consistently are probably expats in the USA and the UK.
What's the business model for the online version?
Business model is advertising only at this stage. It's free to air and will probably remain free to air. We don't believe in paywalls for the browser experience. We just don't believe the browser allows for an experience that people would want to reach into their pocket and pay for. A completely different kettle of fish to the tablet publishing environment, for example, which
You-
which we'll reach on. But it's an advertising business model, and we use that opportunity to build our brand. We have conferences and other interesting sort of ways that we utilize our brand to monetize the following and the brand that we've built up to date.
And how is it going in terms of the advertising? Are you getting enough advertising to cover costs yet?
We're almost there. It's been a long and hard road, especially because the Daily Maverick itself was a completely new take on online advertising. South Africa is a pretty sort of lagging market when it comes to the uptake of new and interesting creative ways of doing it, of doing things, and especially when it's easier in the digital environment, especially to measure in clicks and impressions. So when we came out with an ad model that mimicked print, where we gave exclusive space to advertisers on a particular page for a particular day, we needed to embark on an education experience, and the market need to sort of come to grips with our new strategy. And
It's very much a display advertising approach, isn't it? It's big images, colour.
Big images, a third of the screen, of the readable screen. It remains constant even as you scroll down and read an article. So, on a 1,000-word feature, the advert is the advert is displayed to the reader for an average of 3 minutes, which is the time it takes to read the article. You get full-time display, 100% share of voice. So even though it's big in display advertising and was initially set up that way so that premium brands would find a place in the online space that they'd feel comfortable to advertise their brands on, it's actually become a very effective product advertising and click-through advertising medium because of the type of readers that we have, the purchasing power that they have, and the fact that the advert is prominently displayed for the entire duration of the visit.
And you've not gone with Google Ads. Why not?
Well, Google Ads just don't suit our business. They just don't suit our model. They don't suit the kind of style that we'd like to display on the site. And coupled with the fact that we're catering to 100,000 readers in the context of impressions, in the context of the numbers of the internet, it just wouldn't make financial sense for us.
You get too little income, really.
You get too little income, and it's not cosmetically pleasing to the eye to run Google AdWords. That we don't believe that would have been effective in our space, and it wasn't our desire to do that, and wasn't part of our strategy. We were catering to the top end of the South African market in terms of business people and decision makers, and wanted to create a premium space. We wanted to create a billboard type advertising or double page spread equivalent in the online space, and Google AdWords just doesn't offer you that.
And going back to the reader numbers, the 100,000 readers, where does that place you in the sort of Alexa.com rankings? What is the scale of other websites in South Africa?
In South Africa, it probably ranks us in sort of 50th place in terms of news publishers. We're down in 50th place, but what we'd like to look at is the purchasing power and economic activity of those 100,000 readers. We cater to cabinet ministers and CEOs of financial institutions that read us religiously. Whether they're engaged with us through a newsletter that they receive every morning at 6:30 with news that happen overnight, or reading full feature articles on political events. They're engaged with us. So whilst we will probably never get to the millions of numbers that sort of some of the general news distributors have, we believe that the readers that we do have will always be
So it's a powerful niche.
A powerful niche, and that's exactly what we are trying to cater to.
Tell me about the launch of the iPad edition of it.
Well, the iPad edition was the natural progression in the next step of the evolution of the Maverick stable of publications. And we looked at the strategy that a lot of publishers were taking when approaching the iPad, and we didn't quite agree with what they were doing. We felt that they were wasting the opportunity that the features of the device had to offer, weren't taking into account the large screen, the interactivity, the touch and feel factor, and we're just kind of taking an online approach. So developing ads that essentially republished what was already on the website. So we looked at this and we very quickly realized that the tablet and the iPad in particular was going to be a game changer. We were going to look back in 10 years' time and recognize how the tablet changed the way that we consume media, the way that we consume our news. So we designed a publication called iMaverick. It's a daily newspaper, full broadsheet in terms of covering all the sections that you would normally find in a newspaper, from South Africa to sport to business to politics to Africa to international, classifieds, property. So a full broadsheet that we'd be able to distribute via the iPad. It's an interesting model that we've come up with in terms of getting subscribers on board. We recognize that without the tablet device, you wouldn't be able to read the edition. So for our first offer, when we announced the launch of the newspaper, we bundled the iPad device with the monthly subscription. So for 395 Rand, people who couldn't afford to drop the cash price of the device would now be able to do so on a monthly basis over 2 years and be able to afford the newspaper as well as the device.
And show me what it looks like.
So what you'll see is a magazine-style layout in terms of using rich photos, rich media, multimedia, and what I'll do is just press the play button for you. There we go. And you'll see that from an advertiser's point of view, you get a full page in terms of the exposure, lots of photos, shorts, briefs, full feature articles that will cater to everyone. We're looking at producing about 130 to 150 page edition every day. Importantly, the difference between what we'll be doing and other publishers have been doing is a single edition. So something that people that currently subscribe to newspapers and advertisers that currently still advertise in print will be able to associate with and make the transition from the print world into the digital world with slightly less hesitation.
So how many tablets are there in the market in South Africa?
Well, in South Africa, there's between 60 and 70,000 iPads, and we're starting with iPads and we'll be moving into the Android environment. iPads are pretty much the market leader in South Africa. Growing rapidly.
And so the total market will be?
The total market, as it stands now, is about 70,000 devices in South Africa. Yeah. But we're also after those expat readers that have iPads around the world that have an interest in South African-focused news. So for us, we expect that market to be somewhere in the region of 150,000 as it stands now, and in South Africa alone, growing at about 200,000 per annum.
And what's the break-even point for the model?
It's 8,000. It doesn't sound like a large number when compared to our online readers, or when compared to what traditional print publications need to break even. But it has its challenges. People expect digital news and content to be free, and we'll be trying to convince them that good original content created by a team of award-winning journalists on a great device such as the iPad will create this business class experience that they'd be willing to pay for. So 8,000 takes into account paying subscribers and the ad hoc nature of advertising, where we've anticipated a level of advertising we can expect with those kind of numbers.
And you're also offering it to people who aren't buying the bundle.
Correct. So we'll be announcing the subscription rates in the next few days for people that already own the iPad. So people have said, I already own the iPad, how much will the rates be? We'll be announcing those soon, but they'll come in at less than half of what a traditional high-quality newspaper currently costs, and has the added benefit of not killing trees.
Styli, thanks for talking to me today.
Thank you, Russell.